Oh, somebody just sent a note and said that they're trying to get on, not on it yet. Maybe. Okay, well, hopefully Gail's going to figure that out. Anyways, hi, everybody. It's Catherine Metcalf with the Conscious Community, and I am really happy to be here tonight. This is our very first Google Hangout on Google Hangout, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that this is actually going to go off without a hitch. So we're asking for a miracle here. Anyways, it is my intention and my hope that once we get this all down and it's comfortable running, I hope to be doing this every month and introducing you to some of our amazing members at the Conscious Community. And if you haven't been to the website, please go. It's theconsciouscommunity.com, and it's full of amazing business owners, entrepreneurs that, you know, had enough faith in themselves to pull their pants up by the, you know, loops and buckle and step out into the world and really share their unique gifts. And it's an amazing group. So I'm really happy that you found us, and I hope that you can take time to go on there and find somebody that you feel a good connection with. So last month we had Jana Moynihan, who actually did show us how to do a Google Hangout, but she did it on her website, which is a little bit different than what we're doing tonight. So tonight I'm thrilled to introduce you all to Jody Owen. And Jody is a dear friend, a member of the Conscious Community, and she is a holistic business coach who now she's, you know, debated whether or not she's ready to come out of the closet on this, but I'm outing you, girl. So she's highly intuitive.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and that is one of the really beautiful things about Joe, intuitive gift, and you utilize that in your business.
Right.
So Jody has been self-employed since 2004, and so yeah, you're on your 11th year, which is
yes,
yeah, it's fabulous. So I'm going to read a little bio, and then we're going to jump into our topic tonight, which is the Sacred Money Archetypes. Okay.
Can't wait.
So Jody is a holistic business coach, which means that she takes the best of personal growth and development. She merges that with the best of business, streamlining and simplification, custom for you systems and time and energy management. Then she throws in a little bit of her woo-woo, her intuitive gift, okay, which she calls universal principles. That's good. And what she comes up with is she helps business people become more empowered. She helps them to work more efficiently and more authentically, and she allows you to grow your business with less stress and have more fun.
Yes.
And who doesn't need? Hello.
Hello.
Absolutely. Okay. So her passion is really about discovering and uncovering people's unique gifts and abilities and helping them simply and powerfully bring them into the world. That's so perfect that you're doing that, because you're doing that for yourself as well.
You know, it's all got to be in sync, right? We teach and we try and figure out what we don't know, and then we help other people do that as well. So we're all on the path together.
Right. Absolutely. So, you know, tonight we're going to talk about money. And when you just mention that word, sometimes people get, you know, a little uncomfortable. They get kind of an icky feeling, or they're really happy about it. So no matter what, there's always some kind of a response to it, right?
Definitely. You know, and I think that it really kind of, it all started, if we look throughout history, you know, when we first were starting our societal systems, let's say, you know, we used to barter things. And then we got to the point to where we had, coins made out of clay and of metal, and that represented a barter. So if we look at the barter system, it worked unless your crop didn't come in that year, or your horse got sick, or whatever it was, then it didn't work so well. So your survival, your basic survival, whether you ate or not, whether you fed your kids, whether you had shelter, really depended on, whether things went right. And that's why we kind of went to a more common system with what we called money, what we call money now. And that's, I think, where people really, they still hold that deep, deep emotion about it, because in a lot of instances, we base our whole lifestyle upon money. We base our instincts, our survival, everything is tied around it. And so there's that deep emotional connection. And then we take it a step further. And as we've grown in our society, we start relating our own value, not just the value of our goods and services, but we've started kind of twisting a little bit and making our own value related to money. I mean, specifically, if you look at a certain family that starts with a K, they're all about the money and what money can buy. And that's what they're teaching our young people is, you need to have this kind of lifestyle just like we do. And unfortunately, I know. And unfortunately, most of us are not going to make that kind of money in our lifetime. And so, how do we get past that and really be who we are without that tie of value being tied to money necessarily? I think that there's some switching that we need to do to really come into ourselves. Not that money is a bad word, because there's a lot of good that comes from money too. We just don't want that entanglement of our own light, of our own self-value, to be tied to that little piece of paper or those coins.
Right. So I think a lot of us, our relationship with money comes from our home environment, our family, where we grew up. And I know in my family, it was never discussed.
Right.
I mean, it was like,
right.
Hey. So where do you find most people where the relationship comes from?
Well, and I think that's so true. It comes from our environment. I mean, you and I are of the age where people didn't talk about it. And so here we are, we grow up and we become adults, and we have no concept of really how to take care of money and what it really can do. We just kind of we're thrown into this situation of having to discover that on our own. And that's so sad. There's really, for those that have grown up in an environment with money, it's a different thing. There's conversations with money, I think, happening all the time. And so, there's that entitlement factor that they have that, oh yeah, this is my life and this is what I'm entitled to. Sometimes it's a little skewed, but they don't necessarily have I say they, and I don't mean to separate me from them, but in those circles, those people that have grown up that way, they don't really have the issue of their value or their self-worth being tied to money, because it's just something it's there, it's taken for granted, it's not a big deal. It's when you get into the place of really not having as much as you'd like, or the survival mode, the paycheck to paycheck kind of situation, or losing your life savings in a downfall in the economy. That's really where that comes into play a little bit more, I think. But definitely, the things that you heard growing up, the money doesn't grow on trees, and you have to again, it's the us versus them kind of thing. And, just all those yucky things that we heard growing up. We have to not only learn how to be with money, because nobody talked about it, but then we have to undo all the conditioning that we learned from our environment. So it's a challenging thing for us as adults to really get clear with our relationship with money.
Mm-hmm. And I know from my end with my family, I was raised, and I'm an astrologer, so I always pull in, the zodiac signs.
Sure.
And there are some zodiac signs that are really, really good with money, just naturally. And mostly it's the earth signs. So Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And I was raised by 2 Capricorns. So they were always really frugal. They made good money, but they knew, they invested it. They were all about savings and that kind of stuff, which I'm a Gemini, which is very fly by the seat of our pants. And what's a savings account? So,
and it's really great how, we're going to talk a little bit later about the Sacred Money Archetypes, about how you can almost overlay, the Sacred Money Archetypes and astrology over each other too, because I was raised by a Taurus, so I completely get that, the savings and all of that frugality and that kind of thing. And then here I am a Cancer, which I know that we're really good with money and business, and I can really stretch a dollar, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good thing,
It is a good thing.
So, but yeah, I totally relate. That was one of their favorite sayings to me. And my dad's other one was, "You have to work hard for your money."
Yes.
And oh my God, I believed that for many, many years. And now I have kicked it out the window, and now I work smart for my money.
Well, and another thing is, the people of our parents' generation, they didn't change jobs. They didn't do their life's passion, because they had to provide, and they just stuck it out, and I am appreciative of my parents doing that, especially my dad, just really sticking it out and doing what he needed to do to provide for his family. And we were very grateful for that. But we're coming into the age where people are really wanting to express who they are on an individual level. And that doesn't always mean, staying in a job for 20 years. And in fact, if you look at most of the Gen X, Gen Yers, you're lucky to get somebody that's 3 or 5 years in the same type of job, unless they're an entrepreneur like us. And we're always reinventing ourselves anyway, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's part of the growth factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you see things shifting around money conversations?
I do. I think that as we everybody knows that we're in big shifts, and as we become more enlightened, the conversation is really less about how much money we can make to keep up with the Joneses, as it were, as it used to be, to really how much money can we make to make an impact on the planet. What good can we create? Because, let's face it, we are based on money. And we can't, do all the things that we'd love to be able to do if we don't have money in our pockets. So, all of the healers and all of us out there that are trying to do light work, a lot of us, a lot of times are on the way other side. Oh, I don't want to charge. This is my God's gift and all that. That's great, but it doesn't feed us.
Right.
And it doesn't help us to really, help other people as well. If we're not in business, then we can't help other people. So, the conversation, it's slowly shifting to the why of why we want money instead of just the money itself.
Right. And thank you, God. I think that's a huge shift for a lot of people. And I think it's going to really realign individuals with their own gifts.
Exactly.
Who they are, how they came here. And, there's that old book, do what you love and the money will follow, or that old saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true. There's absolute truth to that. So let's talk about the archetypes. So what are they generally?
Archetypes generally are some way for us to really be able to relate to something and put it down in a place that we can look at it objectively. So, they represent a certain something, a certain paradigm, or a certain way of being that allows us to get it off of ourselves and to look at it objectively, and then relate to the pieces of it that is not in a way that is so emotionally binding that we can't grow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's generally what archetypes are. They give us a place to land, to learn from, and then to grow from.
Right, right. And I know that you have been trained, professionally trained and certified in the Sacred Money Archetypes. So can you give us more info on that?
Absolutely. I just love these Sacred Money Archetypes. There's 8 archetypes, and they were downloaded by Kendall Summerhawk. She is a coach's coach and very spiritual herself. And she created these different archetypes because she saw people struggling, and she really asked for some assistance on how to help them. So she got these 8 archetypes, and she offers a training program in that, which, like as you said, I got certified, and they're just really glorious. They look like simple cards. There's 8 different cards, of course, that go with the archetypes, and there's just a lot of information on them it's kind of like hidden. It's kind of like a treasure map. You know, you can see the cards, and not, if you don't really know how to use them, then they'll just kind of sit around and unfortunately not get used to their fullest potential. But they're really, really rich with information, and they really allow me as a coach to get into places that traditional coaching just doesn't match. Because, you know, it's been said, how you do anything is how you do everything. Well, how you do money is how you do everything. So it's just another tool that I use to be able to reach in and possibly get to those places to where, you know, things haven't been touched before, and then we can uncover something and heal it and move on.
Yeah. So I know that kind of explains how you work with them, but can you kind of take us through the process, and like, how do you figure out what somebody's archetype is?
Right. So what I do is provide you with an assessment. There's a 4-page assessment with very specific instructions on it, and they really ask you to look at your life as a whole on how you've been with money. And then we do a lot of calculations at the end to discover what your archetypes are. And we really work with just the top 3 and then the last one. And we put them in order, you know, of 1 through 8. And then the last one is what I call the shadow one. It's really the place where, if you choose to take on some of the attributes of this archetype, you can really blossom. You know, the top ones are ones that you're comfortable with, that you express most in the world. Of course, the first one would be the very top of that, and then the second and third would be the ones that support that first one. But then the last place is a place where you can really dig in and really grow from.
Yeah, very cool. So you have to be willing to look at your own weakness. I mean, I don't like to use that word, but you know, we obviously have natural strengths, and so we're going to have other areas that we need more attention, and that if we work on it, if we commit to working on it, then we can be better with our money or how we're feeling about it.
Well, and we have all of the archetypes within us. It's not like, you know, the others are excluded. We have bits and pieces of all of them within us. So which one is the one that's last is the one that we've kind of been suppressing and denying, perhaps. So that might be a situation where you have been conditioned by your parents or your environment when you were smaller, and you really want to be this other person, but you're allowing the conditioning to take control instead of really your light.
Okay. All right. So are you going to go over like maybe the 8 archetypes?
I am.
And just with a little on each one. Okay, so the people that are listening in can kind of, without taking the true assessment, at least they can get some general information about it, and they may have aha moments of, oh my God, I think that's me. Or, oh, that's the one I need to work on.
Yeah, and it's so fun. It is so fun. So the first one is the nurturer, which you know, as you would suspect, the nurturer is the person that likes to nurture, and they do this through money, through allowing people to keep borrowing from them and they don't ask for the money necessarily to be repaid, or, they try and buy people's love through gifts all of the time, that kind of thing. It's the inner sponsor. Their sacred money contract, each of these has a sacred money contract, and so I'll read that for each of them, is to care for others by empowering oneself. So the way to grow with the nurturer is to be able to be nurturing with people, but also have boundaries, which the nurturer sometimes has a challenge with those boundaries.
Yeah. I have a question for you, because as I'm listening to that one, I see myself as that person in my 20s, you know? So I'm saying, do we change as we grow, as we get older? I'm sure that the archetype maybe changes.
It's not necessarily that the archetypes change. What happens as it does in any self-development work that we engage in is that, you heal aspects of it. So there's usually, almost always, other aspects that, even though that may be a really glaring one, you think, oh, I've got that handled, which, a lot of people say, oh yeah, I've got that handled. And you do, but perhaps there's another piece there that you need to look at, because that cycle comes around, as you peel back the layers of the onion, there's always more underneath. So we want to stay with your the perspective of your whole lifetime and not just a snapshot of today, because there could be other things hidden that haven't been released yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And I know for me personally, boundaries are something I need to work on more.
A lot of us do. Yeah, a lot of us do. And I had so many ties in my assessment. It was unreal, but nurture was one of my top two. And, it really allowed me to say, I'm done nurturing in that way. And so I chose a different one to work with, because it's like, okay, got it. I'm done nurturing in that way. I'm going to move on to other aspects and really develop those.
Good.
So the next one is the Maverick. It's the inner rebel with a cause. These are the people that are going to be able to be comfortable with, of course, taking more risks. That's what a Maverick is. And their sacred money contract is to balance extreme risk with financial security. These are the people that are just going to really be able to, make big deals and make big, Donald Trump is of course a Maverick. He's been able to risk a lot and then gain it all back, and risk a lot and gain it all back. Now, if, they may or may not have retirement savings because they've been playing such a big game. At times they need to really take hold of what they've got and start not only just jumping, but maybe assessing a little bit more before they jump. So, their creativity is amazing. Balance, not so much. They're pretty much all over the place. They're the wide pendulum swingers. So, let's say that you're married to a Maverick and you're one of the types that is, that likes to have savings. Oh, a little bit of a challenge there, right? Yeah. And I'll talk about that one. In fact, I'll just talk about that one next. It's, the accumulator is the inner banker, and they're the ones that really, they really feel secure when they have lots of money in the bank. They're probably squirreling money away in several different accounts. They may hide money from their family or their spouse. They may have envelopes all over the house with money in it. Wow. Yeah. That kind of thing.
Little stashes everywhere.
Little stashes everywhere. So, their sacred money contract, the place that they can grow to, is to respect the power of money by investing to create freedom instead of hoarding. So let's say you have an accumulator married to a Maverick. One is this very introspective and inside, very consuming type of energy, where the Maverick is big and bold and expressive, and Man, I worked with a couple one time, actually several couples I've worked with, that they had this dynamic going on. And the challenge was to be able to appease the accumulator enough that they just didn't freak out every time that the Maverick, took a chance, and to have the Maverick understand really how important some savings are, and that they can be just as aggressive and Maverick-like about building a savings as taking a risk in other areas of their life. So that's that's a
brilliant way to describe that. So both of them have their gifts where they shine. And if they can pull them together, that could be a really powerful team.
Exactly. Because the accumulator's the inner banker, so they know how to take care of that money for sure. Once the Maverick can get out there and make it. And that was really the place that I had to come to with both of those couples that I worked with, was how they do that in a way that's appeasing both of them. So then next is our.
And so
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask if you've kept in touch with those couples that you've worked with, and are they together?
It's a balancing game. It's a continual kind of keep it in your consciousness kind of effort, because it's because it's out of their realm a little bit. They have to consciously come to the place of, maybe that's my Maverick showing off a little bit too much. I need to really, look at, is this really the best decision for my family? That kind of thing. And then the other person is the accumulator's like, you know what? I'm just being ridiculous in my emotions about it. So yeah, we're going to be okay if we take this risk. It's not a big deal. They just have to play that responsibility to its highest degree, in saying what will work and what won't work, and not blaming the other person, but trying to really understand the other person.
That's huge, because I know, the divorce rate now is like 50% of people that get married. It's ridiculously high. And I guess the number one reason is money conflicts. So it's almost like your phone number should be in every single divorce therapy office, or
I'm telling you.
Yeah, because it's almost like this is so important. If people could, really go through this assessment, and oh my God, they could learn so much, and they could possibly even save their marriage.
Exactly. Yeah. And if they can't save their marriage, at least they could learn how to, if they have kids, co-parent in a way that is responsible for their children. You know?
Yeah. That's huge. Yeah.
It is huge.
4.
Yeah. Next, we have our favorite, the alchemist. Woohoo!
The alchemist.
And it's funny that the alchemist is really the inner idealist. So their sacred money contract is to transform ideas into financial success. As I've said before, that the people who are a little bit more on the magical side sometimes tend to not want to charge what they're worth. And so this is really about taking all of the ideas, or in a healer's or a magical person's case, a woo-woo person's case, their inspirations.
Sorry, you're hearing my little chihuahua.
Okay. So to transform those ideas and inspirations, hey, hello, into financial success. Because we're idea people. The alchemists, high alchemist person is an idea people. We can have tons and tons of ideas. We can have lots and lots of inspiration come through, and we need to be able to then transform that into actionable items, actionable things that you can actually really do something with, instead of just having all these ideas hanging out there in the ethers. That's something that the alchemist is a challenge for the alchemist sometimes, that they're just bouncing off the walls with ideas, and then they need to really hone it down to be able to move on it and put those ideas and inspirations into something concrete.
Yeah.
So
huge. And I bet a lot of artistic and intuitive people probably fall into that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The connector is the next one. That's the inner relationship creator. And their contract is to connect with others, is to connect with money. You know, the connector carries a lot of the same type of energy as a nurturer does. It's a little bit more soft. It's a little bit more buoyant. The nurturer is really, you know, the softie. They want to take care of people. The connector is really about making sure that they are heard and that they hear people as well. So it's and energetically making connections with people. So they're out and about, and it's not a harsh energy at all. But it's a very buoyant kind of energy.
Yeah, I think I ranked pretty high in that one too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, right.
Yes.
So in that, they can spend a lot of times hanging out with people and having a good time, but, you know, turning that into relationships and making sure that some of those relationships at least are going to help them create an income so that they can make a bigger impact in the world. You know, that's the part of it that is sometimes a little tricky for them, is they're just having a good time and, oh yeah, I guess I'm here to do some business as well.
Yeah, I think the business should be run that way. I think it should be hand in hand with, I think we should be having fun and having a good time, but, you know, being able to earn income doing it.
Absolutely.
So,
yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. Celebrity is the next one. It's the inner big shot. And their contract is to accumulate wealth while being admired and valued in the world. So these are, again, the people that are, you know, really in the spotlight. You know, they value money as a tool to achieve status, that kind of thing. If they can really use their money properly, like a Leonardo DiCaprio, you know, where, yes, you know, they are in the spotlight. They do hang out with famous people, but look at all the good that he's doing, you know, with energy in the world. And Oprah, same thing, you know, she's definitely, you know, somebody that is in the spotlight, and that she takes that and uses it in a way that's really powerful. So that is, you know, it's one thing to be admired and valued in the world, but what are you going to do with that? And that's one of the challenges for the celebrity, because they just want to be, you know, liked and well known. It's so funny because I have a daughter that, my older daughter, who's, she's a very soft, gentle person, but she came up as celebrity. Her highest one is celebrity.
Wow.
Could not believe it.
You?
Pardon me?
Was that surprising to you?
Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. But then I look back and I see, oh yeah, you know, she really does appreciate, you know, being known and having people know who she is. But because she's such a soft energy, I wouldn't have expected that. So she threw me for a loop. She was funny with that.
Learned something new about your daughter.
I know, right? Well, and that's why these are so valuable, because you can learn so many new things about yourself and other people, right?
Yeah.
The seventh one is romantic. We have 8 cards, and there's we're on the 7th one. It's romantic. It's the inner hedonist. And these people, their money contract is to create financial security while living life to its fullest. The romantics, it doesn't really have to do with romance. It's really more about having a romantic lifestyle. I have a peer coach that she won't drink wine unless it's a certain quality of wine and it's in a certain quality of glass. And it's not that she is, she wants to be known for that. It's just all about the quality of life that she's created for herself and the standards that she's created for herself. You know, she's a very loving person, and she's just has this sense of standards about her that are much different. You know, romantic and celebrity were 2 of my bottom ones, 2 of my shadows. They're tied for shadows. So, you know, a romantic person is the person that's going to go to the spa and get their nails done all the time, and all of those, take really good care of themselves. And I don't do that very much. And I need to. So, you know, this being my shadow is really a place for me to learn how to take better care of myself as I step into the energy of the romantic.
Yeah. So we'll have to schedule a little spa day together.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds fabulous.
Yeah.
Last but not least is the ruler. I love the ruler. It's the one that I, in all of my ties, have really chosen to work with. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why I saved it for last. They're the inner empire builder. Pardon me. Their contract is to innovate, achieve, and empower wealth with grace and ease. And the ruler really is about wanting to raise everyone up. You know, it's about, it's not just me as in the celebrity, it's about us as a community. And I think that's why, you know, the conscious community is so enticing to me, and why I belong to that, because it's about creating a community where everyone thrives. And I just love that. You know, I love that concept. And that's, you know, when I was talking about, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I'm honored to have you in it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, you know, it's, I think this is the way that we're moving to, is that, you know, the ones that are really making an impact on the planet are the ones that are really looking out for everybody else to come with them. You know, they may be leading us, but they're giving us a hand to help us up. Or we as the leaders are giving our hand to help others up behind us. It's not just that we're turning our back and going forth. It's really that we're including everyone. And I think that's, you know, when we talked about how do we see things shifting, I think I see a lot of people shifting into that ruler mode, that the why becomes very, very important. Like that.
Yeah. So we've covered all 8 of them, and I'm sure that people that are listening have related in one way or another with 2 or 3 of them at least. You know?
Probably, yes.
Yeah. So, and I know from what you said about, especially the couple, you know, the married couple who's going in, and they're 2 completely different, you know, archetypes, how valuable this work can be, you know, for people to move forward, get to know who they are, and then move forward and work together. So do you have other types of experiences that you can share with us, with people that you've helped? And
yeah, a good friend of mine, another peer coach actually, she is a very high nurturer, and she's also a very high romantic. So she would be buying gifts for people all the time. You know, romantics like to spend money. And since, and it became a situation to where she had borderline hoarder issues.
Oh my. Yeah.
You know, she was just constantly buying things to, you know, have around her to feel good. And so we coached through that. I mean, that came up in using the cards, one of the exercises through the cards, that this issue was happening. And since she's really gotten a hold of that, she's saving over $1,000 a month in money that she used to spend, and is purging her house now. And I know it's tickly, right? It's something in the air now. So that was a case where I mean, there's a real instant dollar value there of savings for her that she can now use, you know, to put towards her daughter's education and some other things that are happening in their life. So, I mean, that's just one example. I worked with a CEO in the Caribbean. He's the CEO of a $1 billion conglomerate down there. And he really discovered, you know, he's extremely successful, and worked with him and found a place where he hadn't healed relationship with some of his family members. And so we were able to coach through that. And he was able to forgive some circumstances that had him triggered quite a bit. So now he can, be around them and not have those triggers affecting his life. And, of course, if we're triggered by a family member, it's going to show up in other areas of our life too. So those people appear in our business life and our social life, and they're constantly going to be triggers because it's the same circumstance with different faces on. So now he can be, different in and around the people that represented that trigger for him.
You could see where this could be really helpful too for people that run businesses.
Absolutely.
So, and looking at each individual person in the business and how they, what they resonate with. But yeah, I could just see where this would be so valuable in whether it's your marriage or your business or just your personal life, wanting to take more responsibility for your finance.
Yeah. Part of what we have with the Sacred Money Archetypes is actually a wheel that shows, what types of positions are best suited for what types of archetypes. So, a Maverick is going to be, of course, in your sales position because they're going to be the go-getters and get out there and that kind of thing. The accumulator is probably going to be your bookkeeper. So it really helps, just like there's tons of other kinds of assessments. This is just another way to make sure you've got the right people on the bus in the right seats. And maybe you need to make some changes. Maybe somebody's pretending to really be doing something, but they're failing miserably and you don't understand why, because they know it. Well, maybe it's not really who they are at their core, and they're just trying to make it through. There's some stuff to entangle there. So, and when you're hiring people, you want to make sure that you've got the right people in the right positions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's so important.
Yeah.
So we know what the archetypes are. We know that you're trained in analyzing people with that and working with them to help them move through and empower them.
Right.
So how do people get a hold of you to get started to work with you?
Well, they can go to my website, which is www.jodyinspires.com. Go to my contact page and then shoot me an email, or, you can just give me a ring at 480-466-0766. 480-466-0766. And I'd be glad to take you through. I am making an offer for the people listening to this, and that I understand this is going to be on in eternity, but I still will honor the offer. It's a really quick 15-minute reading, so I will send you the assessment. You get to answer all of the questions. We'll figure out which archetypes you are, and we'll do a really quick reading for how the archetypes relate to you and your personal situation, and that's only $49.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a really inexpensive way to learn more about yourself. And again, Jody is incredible. I've known her for probably the past 3 or 4 years. And I've really NAWBO, National Association of Women Business Owners. And didn't you win just like some huge award this year?
I did, the Unsung Hero Award. It's that nurturer.
That's perfect. Yeah. So you totally lived up to that and got awarded for it.
I did. Yes. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah. And we have to pat you on the back because I know you tend to be a little bit on the timid side as far as that. So I will blow the horn for you.
Okay.
I have to say, I've worked with you and you're just a joy to work with.
Thank you.
You offer great inspiration and empowerment. And the name of your business is just perfect. I love jodyinspires.com is absolutely true. So
thank you.
Yeah. So I thank you so much, Jody, for being my guest today. And early on, you know, in the Google Hangout world. So I hope that you get lots of ringy dingies or emails, you know, to you, and people jump on that deal, because that is a screaming deal for $45 and get a little quickie assessment.
Yeah,
And
I just, you know, it's my stand is really about empowerment and simplicity. So if I can have you be in a place that you're living your life and your business more simply and in a more empowered way, that's really, that's just really what I'm here for, is to help everyone do that, because business or living your life doesn't have to be hard. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated. We can do it in a more simple way with like the ruler says, with grace and ease. And I just, that's what I'm here for. I would love to be able to help people wherever I can. And yeah, get on board, get the assessment done, and let's play.
all right. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Jody. I'm very grateful to you.
I'm grateful for you.
And we look forward to hearing from you all. All right. Blessings.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, thanks. Bye-bye.